How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to another exciting episode on my channel. What I want to talk about is how I've had two influences that led me to wanting to make content on the internet. Um, I've had a lot of creative family members in my life, a lot of people who express themselves either through writing or art, uh, and it was constantly around me. I had a lot of my family members who were into journaling. I had a lot of family members who were into photography, and like they would take photography and they'd scrapbook it, which I don't really see happen often anymore. But like when I was a kid, that was really big, scrapbooking. Taking photos and make turning into art in a actual book, and that was their way of kind of journaling what was around them. My mom, my mother, my dear mama, she would contact my uncle Ed. This was back before internet. I mean, we had dial up, but we didn't have dial up. And the computers were not everywhere. To have a computer was stressful. I think my first computer was a Commodore 64. Ugh. Talk about looking at green letters. It was like every time I'd open up the computer, it felt like I was turning on a Fallout video game, which wasn't out back then. But when I think back then, I all I can see is a Fallout monitor, is what a Commodore 64 was. And so there was no email. And I had an uncle, Uncle Ed is what I called him. He wasn't really my uncle. I found that out much later in life, that my Uncle Ed was not my uncle, and I just called him Uncle Ed. He was related to me, but I think he was my dad's uncle, and I heard him say it, and I was like, well, now I'm going to say it. And no, he was a sweet man, but he had autism. I don't know to what degree of autism, but uh, in my family, it's kind of there, right? Like my uncle had it, or I should say, quote unquote, uncle had it. I have it. I'm pretty sure my dad has it. I can say that because even he says, "Oh, I think I have autism." Like, you should probably get tested. You might actually, you might actually have the tism. You might. You just might actually. Um, but like autism in my family is kind of common. So my mom wanted to keep in touch with him, right? Just kind of have something that he can relay back and forth. So what my mom was doing was she got a cassette tape recorder with like a bunch of cassette tapes. Oh my God, a bunch of cassette tapes. And she would kind of vlog on these cassette tapes. And she would talk about everything, about what was going on in her day, about what she was up to, what kind of food she's going to make, what books she's reading, because my mom loved reading books, and I think that kind of got passed down to me and my sister. My sister and I love reading books. I probably love reading mangas more than I love reading books, but I do love to read. And so she would, when we go visit, up in Lake Arrowhead, which is, for some of you who don't know, it's like way up in the mountains, and it's very beautiful there. She would leave the cassette tapes behind for my uncle to, quote unquote uncle, to enjoy. My Uncle Ed, and he was such a friendly guy. He everyone knew him. Everyone up in Arrowhead knew him because he would just kind of walk up to strangers. He would walk up to strangers. He'd shake their hand, and he would just be super friendly. He's like, "Hey, how are you?" There was this one time we were in the van, a Toyota van, and we were driving, and my uncle, quote unquote uncle, was in the van with me, Uncle Ed, and my mom is scared of heights. She cannot handle heights, and we have to drive up this street that is like on the edge of the mountain. And my mom, she has to like close her eyes and like not look down. She just waits till we get past that area. Well, my Uncle Ed, he looks out the window, he looks down, he goes, "Hey, hey, look, you can see all the way down there." And she did not like that. She goes, "Hey, hey, look, you can see all, look down there, hey." He was such a character. And so such a sweet guy, so caring and loving. And so my mom left him these cassette tapes for him to listen to, so that way she can keep in touch with him. And then he would get like 5 or 6 of these tapes. And what's cool is that you could just re-record on top of them. So once you've recorded a bunch, you could then re-record something over it. And that's what he would do. Either he would get new tapes or old tapes, and he would record how his day was, and that's how they stayed in touch. They recorded on cassette tapes, and they started going back and forth like that. Which I, to this day, I'm amazed that they did that for so long. And I think this series, I feel it. I could see why she did it. The feeling of just kind of talking into something with the anticipation of someone listening to it. Like it feels like there's a payoff to this. Like I'm speaking my mind because someone's going to listen to it, but at the same time just sort of speaking my mind in general kind of feels nice. And I've talked to my mom about this before I made this episode. Literally a couple of days before I made this, I talked to my mom to get more information about why she was doing that. And she filled me in with where those tapes were going, because I remember her doing it, but I always thought it was some kind of therapeutic thing. I didn't know it was towards my Uncle Ed. And she filled me in as to why she did it. That she was sending it to my Uncle Ed when we'd visit. And it made sense. Like on one hand, she admitted, yes, it was therapeutic. But on the other hand, it was also because there was an intent that someone was going to listen to it. And that's what drove her to keep doing it. And I feel it. When I make these episodes, I also feel that same pull. Now, earlier in the episode, I said there was 2 people that inspired me. The second person that inspired me to make content on the internet is my grandfather. Now, my Uncle Ed lives, or used to live, with my grandfather. Both these people are now no longer with me. They've passed on. But my grandfather had like this radio. Like it was one of those, what do you call that? CV radio? Is that what it's called? Anyways, it was something that he was able to talk into and be on the radio. And he would just kind of read Bible verses. And he would talk about the weather. And he'd talk about, what families are doing. And he'd be on the AM radio, and people actually tuned in to listen to him, to listen to the Bible verses, to listen to the weather. And it was so genuine. That's all he was doing. And he was also a very sweet guy. He'd be like, all right, well, today we're going to have Thanksgiving here at the house, and everyone's going to come around. We're going to get some pies, we get some ice creams, and we have Eddie out there shoveling the snow. It's a snowy day, so make sure you have your chains on. It was just both of them were great men, and my mother and my grandfather, I have to say, are the 2 influences mostly in my life that made me want to make content for the internet. It was such a huge, inspiring thing for me to see them do that. That when I was growing up, I wanted to do that too. I started recording audios on cassette tapes. I saw my mom doing it as a kid, and then I started doing it. And then I saw my grandfather talking on his, radio to other people on the AM radio. And then I wanted to do it. And then I started pretending like I was someone talking into a radio. And here I am, many, many years later, and I'm still doing it. I'm still talking into the void. I'm making series where I speak my mind, and I vlog. And even though a lot of people do this because they want fame. They do this because they want to be popular or because they love that connection. I do it because ever since I was a child, I've always been doing this. This isn't just something I started on a whim. This is something I have spent my entire life ever since I was a child doing. And it's just something that I'm going to keep doing. Even if I never get popular, even if I never get famous, even, right? No matter what, this will always be a part of my life. Always. Because I had two people that inspired me to be who I am. My mother and my grandfather. And because of them, I will always be this. That's going to be it for this episode. Thank you for listening.